Hey everybody, Pocket Doc from Archangel Medical. We're going to talk to you real quick about tourniquets today. Why they're used, when we don't use them, how they're used appropriately. First off, we have always heard this stigma, associated with tourniquets, so they're going to lose a limb. We know now that's totally false. That stuff was brought about because of the way we triage people and treated people back during the Civil War, actually. Tourniquets have been around since first recorded use is like 199 BC by the ancient Greeks and ancient Romans. So these things have been around for a long time, saving lives, and we've been using them in operating rooms for well over 100 years now with a great degree of success. So that said, don't worry about any of that stuff. What we're using a tourniquet for is to stop life-threatening hemorrhage. Life-threatening hemorrhage being one of the most preventable and treatable causes of death in the United States, with over 30,000 people a year dying as a result of that. So we need to know how to stop bleeding quickly and effectively, and this tourniquet does it. This is a Gen 7 CAT, or Combat Application Tourniquet from North American Rescue. I'm going to go ahead and take the plastic off of it and show you what we're going to do with it. Now, as you see, the CAT comes staged already for use. This right here, we'll go through the nomenclature of the tourniquet real quick, and then we'll get started on a drill or an application. So, tourniquet, why do we use it? Life-threatening, massive life-threatening hemorrhage from an extremity. Okay, so that's arms or your legs. Okay, there's 4 places we're going to put this thing, and what we're going to talk about in a little bit is the application of it. Okay, so in the tourniquet, you've got the strap here. This has got the red tip technology. The strap, which goes around the limb and secures to the limb. This windlass right here, this is what turns like a spigot, and it shuts the blood flow off. This windlass retention clip is what the windlass locks into once the bleeding has been stopped. And then we have the last thing we do after we apply it is apply the windlass retention strap around the windlass retention clip. And there's a, you see it right there, it says time. That's the time that you put that on there, that you've applied it, so that rescuers know, okay? So, there's a nomenclature. Now, how do I put this thing on? Well, we're going to talk about hasty tourniquets. A hasty tourniquet is something that you put on just as quickly as you can, because all you want to do is stop the bleeding. You're not sitting there measuring the distance of the wound from the tourniquet, anything like that. That's called a deliberate tourniquet. And if you see a definite where the bleeding is coming from, you need to go at least 4 inches above that. That's basically that's based on Committee on Tactical Casualty Care guidelines. So at least 4 inches above for a deliberate tourniquet. If it's low light, situation, you're just like, oh my God, I don't know where they're bleeding from, we're going to do a hasty tourniquet. And that's what we teach. Hasty tourniquets, we're going to get the bleeding stopped, then we can come back and evaluate it, or the medics can come back and evaluate it later and put on a deliberate tourniquet below that area. And so if I'm going to put a tourniquet on an arm, the big thing I want to do, and this is a trainer tourniquet, and if you have a tourniquet, don't use a real world tourniquet, get a dedicated training tourniquet as well, because you can lose strength. When I put this thing on my arm, I'm going to put it to where I can work better, for my body style. I got little short T-Rex arms. Can't even sing happy, clap your hands, you know what I mean? So I'm going to try to get this tourniquet up as high as I can. Hasty tourniquet. Remember, military haircut, high and tight. So I'm going to try to get this thing up as high as I can, typically between the deltoid and the bicep and tricep muscle there. I'm going to pull as tightly as I can towards my body. That gives me more chance of getting that thing on super tight. I'm going to try to pull as tight as I can on that first pull, secure that tourniquet in place. Then I'm going to start turning that windlass until all bleeding has stopped. Once I get the bleeding stopped, I'm going to lock it in place. If I've got excess, I can bring that through, and then I'll use this tourniquet, or this windlass retention clip, or strap, go over the windlass retention clip, hold it in place, make sure the time is annotated on there, and then I'm good to go. Now, like anything, the bleeding could reoccur if this thing loosens up or slips or something like that. Go ahead and reapply it, get it tighter. Now, if on a lower leg, and we'll talk about that later, on a lower leg, you may need to apply more than one tourniquet. So, that's just a down and dirty on how to apply a tourniquet, when you do it, when you don't do it, and hopefully that answers some of your questions. The best thing I can tell you is to practice with these things. If you can't practice with it, then you don't need to be carrying it, because you're not going to be an asset, you'll be a liability. So, if you have any questions, shoot us an email at info@darkangelmedical.com. Hope you enjoy the video. Comment with any questions, and be safe.